Well, this is our last Bible class here. Amen. Next week, we will be in the location, Professional Plaza. That is one block up here, or one exit up, exit 15. You have to leave about 7:30. We'll figure it out for you. We'll help you. Because right now she gets here right about 9:45. It's a long walk. It's just one exit up. As soon as you turn right, it's right connected to the ITT side. So wherever the ITT is, you'll see the signs when you pull in the parking lot there. Many of you guys were seeing the signs already, haven't you? You've been there all week helping. So it's coming together. There's directions in the back. In fact, we'll pass those out at the 11 o'clock service, so if anybody wants them. But it'll be we'll be there until we can have all of our stuff can stay set up. We don't have to tear down. It's going to be a church, feel. So our Sunday will be there. Our Monday night, the movement will be there. Wednesday night, mid will be there. Choir practice will be there. So it really helps us to where we don't have to. And the kids will be on site. Everybody will be right there. So nursery, early childhood, and the children and youth will be actually going up there with us next week too. So just a lot of, and we don't have to be in a rush to cut corners in our new project to get down there, and so we can allow it just to do what it's supposed to do. So that's our goal, and here we go. So this will be our last, and we are taking our pews with us. So the ones that will work and stay, okay? I'll talk more about that at 11. Let's go to Numbers. And I think we are 8:14. Yeah, they know where we are. In this way, you will set the Levites apart from the rest of the people of Israel, and the Levites will belong to me. After this, they may go into the tabernacle to do their work, because you have purified them and presented them as special offering. All the people of Israel, the Levites are reserved for me. I have claimed them for myself in the place of all the firstborn sons of the Israelites. I have taken the Levites as their substitutes. For all the firstborn males among the people of Israel are mine, both of the people and of the animals. I set them apart for myself on the day I struck down all the firstborn sons of the Egyptians. Yes, I have claimed the Levites in place of all the firstborn sons of Israel. And of all the Israelites, I have assigned the Levites to Aaron and his sons. They will serve in the tabernacle on behalf of the Israelites and make sacrifices to purify the people. So no plague will strike them when they approach the sanctuary. So Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel dedicated the Levites, carefully following all the Lord's instructions to Moses. The Levites purified themselves from the sin and washed their clothes, and Aaron lifted them up and presented them to the Lord as a special offering. He then offered a sacrifice to purify them and make them right with the Lord. After that, the Levites went into the tabernacle to perform their duties, assisting Aaron and his sons, so they carried out all the commands that the Lord gave Moses concerning the Levites. The Lord also instructed Moses. This is the rule the Levites must follow. They must begin serving in the tabernacle at the age of 25, and they must retire at the age of 50. And after retirement, they may assist their fellow Levites by serving as guards at the tabernacle, but they may not officiate in the service. This is how you must assign duties to the Levites. A year after Israel's departure from Egypt, the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. In the first month of that year, he said, "Tell the Israelites to celebrate the Passover at the prescribed time." Here's where I want to get to today. At twilight on the 14th day of the first month, be sure to follow all my decrees and regulations concerning the celebration. So Moses told the people to celebrate the Passover. In the wilderness of Sinai, as twilight fell on the 14th day of the month, they celebrated the festival there, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. But some of the men had been ceremonially defiled by touching a dead body, so they could not celebrate the Passover that day. Then they came to Moses and Aaron that day and said, "We have become ceremonially unclean by touching a dead body, but why should we be prevented from presenting the Lord's offering at the proper time with the rest of the Israelites?" Did you get that? They're saying, look, I know we're dirty, we're unclean, but why can't we offer a sacrifice to God? Why can't we participate in the worship? Moses answered, "Wait here until I receive instructions for you from the Lord." This was the Lord's reply to Moses. Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. If any of the people now or in the future generations are ceremonially unclean at Passover time because of touching a dead body, or if they are on a journey and cannot be present at the ceremony, they may still celebrate, look at that. They may still celebrate the Lord's Passover. Isn't that funny? They could take communion. They must offer the Passover sacrifice 1 month later. Dead body is considered unclean. That's all it is. Just they consider it unclean. They must offer the Passover sacrifice 1 month later at twilight on the 14th day of the second month. Listen to this. They must eat the Passover lamb at the time with bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. They must not leave any of the lamb until the next morning, and they must not break any of its bones. They must follow all the normal regulations concerning the Passover. But those who neglect to celebrate the Passover at the regular time, even though they are ceremonially clean and not away on a trip, will be cut off from the community of Israel. If they fail to present the Lord's offering at the proper time, they will suffer the consequences of their guilt. And if the foreigners living among you want to celebrate the Passover to the Lord, they must follow the same decrees and regulations. The same laws apply both to native-born Israelites and to the foreigners living among you. On the day the tabernacle was set up, the cloud covered it, but from evening until morning, the cloud over the tabernacle looked like a pillar of fire. That's where we get the cloud by day, fire by night. Okay? This was the regular pattern. At night, the cloud was covered. The tabernacle had the appearance of fire. It didn't say it was fire. It had the appearance of fire. It was still a cloud. Whenever the cloud lifted from over the sacred tent, the people of Israel would break camp and follow it. And wherever the cloud settled, the people of Israel would set up camp. So here's what happened. They set this big old tabernacle plan up, this big old place. It was huge. And set it up. The people only had one, thing to follow. That was the cloud. If the cloud moved, they had to tear this thing down, and everybody moved it. And they moved it to where? The next place. And the next place was wherever the cloud stopped and appeared. So the only thing they had to watch was the cloud. As the cloud moved, they moved. Cloud stopped, they stopped. Where the cloud stopped, they set up shop. And they had to rebuild and put that whole thing together. Can you imagine the work? That's a lot of work. So they had 6,000 people, didn't they? And wherever the cloud settled, the people of Israel would set up the camp. In this way, they traveled and camped at the Lord's command wherever he told them to go. Then they remained in their camp as long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle. If the cloud remained over the tabernacle for a long time, the Israelites stayed and performed their duty to the Lord. Sometimes the cloud would stay over the tabernacle for only a few days, so the people would stay for only a few days as the Lord commanded. Then the Lord's command, they would break at camp and move on. Sometimes the cloud stayed only overnight and lifted the next morning, but day or night, when the cloud lifted, the people broke camp and moved on. That cloud represented the presence of the Lord. So they learned how to follow the presence of the Lord, and that cloud became dependent upon the cloud as the presence of God. So when the presence of God moved, it was a sign. When the presence of God moved, they moved. When it didn't move, they stayed. So it was pretty simple communication. Whether the cloud stayed above the tabernacle for 2 days or a month or a year, the people of Israel stayed in the camp and did not move on. But as soon as they lifted, they broke camp and moved on. Here was a challenge, though. I want you to think about this for a minute. Okay, you're breaking down this camp. You go, and you don't know if it's 1 day or 2 days or 1 year. So every day, they'd have to come out and look to see if that cloud moved. If the cloud didn't move, they're here. You ever been in your life where you're waiting on God to move? You think it should have already happened. You're anticipating it. And you really can't settle in where you are because you know at any moment that thing's going to move. It's hard to be in a place where you set up shop and you find yourself secure when at any moment it could go. It's okay if the Lord would say, hey guys, we're just going to camp out here for the next month, so relax. But they couldn't do that. They had to get up every morning and go, he's here, let's stay. He's here, let's stay. He's gone, let's move. You see what I mean? And it's hard. It would be so much. I don't know why the Lord, I don't know why he does what he does, but I don't know why the Lord just wouldn't say, listen, guys, y'all relax. Over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to be here. So you don't need, just relax. It wasn't that way. It was a daily assessment and a daily walk. You had to get up every day going, all right, here we go. So they camped and traveled at the Lord's command, and they did whatever the Lord told them through Moses. Here's what the Lord said to Moses. Make 2 trumpets of hammered silver for calling the community to assemble and for the signaling of the breaking of camp. 2 trumpets. When both trumpets are blown, everyone must gather before you at the entrance of the tabernacle. But if only 1 trumpet is blown, then only the leaders, the heads of the clans of Israel, must present themselves to you. So here's what it was. When the first trump is blown, it gathers the elders and the leaders. When the second one is blown together, both are blown, that means everybody's coming. So they heard kind of 2 sirens, 2 shouts, if you will. The first shout was call the elders. The second shout was the horn blown, was everybody has to present themselves, must present themselves to you. When the sound of the signal to move on, the tribes camped on the east side of the tabernacle must break camp and move forward. Okay, you remember how it says in the Bible, when the trump of God shall blow, you hear the trump of God, the eastern sky will split, and Jesus is going to come through that eastern sky. Have you heard this, how we've been taught that all of our life? It's referring to this kind of thing. The trump will blow, and then the east moves first, okay? The sun comes up in the east, sets in the west, right? Comes up in the east, sets in the west. So you'll see the sun rise in the east. When you hear the sound a second time, the tribes camped on the south will follow. So you must sound short blasts at the signal for moving on. So east goes first and south moves. But when you call the people to an assembly, blow the trumpets with a different signal. So they learned to hear the sound. Only the priests, Aaron's descendants, are allowed to blow the trumpets. This is a permanent law for you to be observed from generation to generation. Only the high priests, the priests, could blow the trumpet. Not the high priest, but the priests. When you arrive in your own land and go to war against the enemies who attack you, sound the alarm with the trumpets. Then the Lord your God will remember you and rescue you from your enemies. Blow the trumpets in times of gladness, sounding them at your annual festivals and at the beginning of each month. Blow the trumpets of your burnt offerings and peace offerings. The trumpets will remind your God of his covenant with you. I am the Lord your God. In the second year after Israel's departure from Egypt, I want you to think about this. This is the second year. All this stuff happened in 365 days. On the 20th day of the second month, the cloud lifted from the tabernacle of the covenant. So the Israelites set out from the wilderness of Sinai, this is where they got their instructions, and started traveling on from place to place until the cloud stopped in the wilderness of Paran. When the people set out for the first time, following the instructions the Lord had given through Moses, what's this? Judah's troops led the way. Judah means praise. So the praise went forward with banners, and their leader was Nahshon, son of Amminadab. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Issachar, led by the Nathanael, son of Zuar, and the troops of the tribe of Zebulun, led by Eliab, son of Helon. Then the tabernacle was taken down, and the Gershonite and the Meronite division of the Levites were next in the line of march, carrying the tabernacle with them. Reuben's troops went next, marching behind their banner. Their leader was Eleazar, son of Shedeur. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Simeon, led by Shelumiel, son of Shaddai, and the troops of the tribe of Gad, led by Eliasaph, son of Deuel. Next came the Kohathites, division of the Levites, carrying the sacred objects from the tabernacle. Before they arrived at the next camp, the tabernacle would already be set up at its location. So here's what happened. The cloud would move, they would set up, and Judah would go first. Then they would connect with Issachar. Then the whole tribes begin to move. But the tabernacle was set in place in order as people would come to the next location. So the tabernacle would already be set up at its new location as the groups started coming. Ephraim's troops were next, marching behind their banner. Their leader was Elishama, son of Ammihud. They were joined by the troops of the tribe of Manasseh, led by Gamaliel, son of Pedazzur. And the troops of the tribe of Benjamin, led by Abidan, son of Gideoni. Dan's troops went last, marching behind their banner and serving as their rear guard for all the tribal camps. Their leader, I want you to see this too. Okay, Judah means praise, it went first. Dan went last. Dan, out of the tribe of Dan came all the judges. So praise goes first, judgment comes last. You follow that? Praise first, worship first, judgment last. Their leader was Ahizar of Ammishaddai. They were joined by the troops of Asher, led by Pagiel, son of Ochran, and the troops of the tribe of Naphtali, led by Ahiri, son of Enan. This was the order in which the Israelites marched, division by division. One day, Moses said to his brother-in-law, Hobab, son of Ruel, the Midianite, "We are on our way to the place the Lord promised us, for he said, 'I will give it to you. Come with us, and we have treat you well, and the Lord has promised wonderful blessings for Israel.'" Don't you think it's interesting that he would say the promised land? So it's not just the promise, it's land. Promise, land. So God wants you to have land. Okay? He wants you to own. He wants you to have possession. Promise, land. Okay? The promised land. Not just the promise, but land. So the reason you have land, title deed to you, you have authority spiritually in the land of which you have title. Okay? It's called citizenship, ownership, right. You pay taxes, you vote in that precinct. You might be a citizen of the United States, but if you live in a precinct and it's here to vote, you can't go vote anywhere you want to. You vote where you're assigned, right? And how that's all done is by the area of your address or where you own or live, okay? So I want you to think about this. No, I will not go. But Ohab replied, "No, I will not go. I must return to my own land and my family." "Please don't leave us," Moses pleaded. "You know the places in the wilderness where we should camp." Moses is saying, "Look, we need a guide. Come be our guide. If you do, we'll share with you all the blessings the Lord gives us." They marched for 3 days after leaving the mountain of the Lord, with the ark of the Lord's covenant moving ahead of them to show them where to stop and rest, which is the presence of God. And they moved on each day. The cloud of the Lord hovered over top of them. And whenever the ark set out, Moses would shout, "Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered. Let them flee before you." And when the ark was set down, he would say, "Return, O Lord, to the countless thousands of Israel." Soon the people began to complain about the hardships, and the Lord heard everything they said. Then the Lord's anger blazed against them, and he sent a fire to rage among them, and he destroyed some of the people in the outskirts of the camp. Then the people screamed to Moses for help, and when he prayed to the Lord, the fire stopped. So here's what happened. Moses was kind of like the Jesus, if you will, in our day. Moses was their mediator. He was their spokesperson. He was their guy that God talked to face. So here's what happened. God would say, "Let's go." They start going. And the journey was still only a year into this thing, a little over a year, and they started complaining and murmuring because we're getting tired. Where are we going? When are we going to get there? I don't want to be on a journey that I don't know when and how the destination is going to take place. That's how we are today. We started complaining. So the complaint angered the Lord because it was a lack of faith, okay? Lack of trust. Moses goes to God and says, "Hey God, I'm going to intercede on behalf of these people," and the fire and the rage stopped. So Moses stopped the anger of the Lord on those people. How? By asking him. Now Moses is a type of Jesus. Moses is our picture of Christ today. So Christ stands and lives, and Jesus forever lives to make intercession to God on our behalf, which means forever liveth. which means he is standing in the gap like Moses stood in the gap for them. Well, Moses was a mere man. Jesus was a man, but he's also God. Jesus doesn't sleep or slumber. So he is standing forever, 24/7, in front of the Father, which means as Moses had to petition God, Jesus is the petition of God. Right? Moses had to ask, Jesus lives. The fact that Jesus lives, all of God's anger now is not against people. Make sense? Moses had asked to get him to stop because Moses was a man that was flawed like us. Jesus is a man but wasn't flawed like us. So Jesus lives, so there is no anger coming from the Father towards the people. Otherwise, Jesus would not be our high priest and our intercessor. Okay? Doesn't mean he doesn't want to see things change, be different, but he's not going to consume people because of our sin and our mess. Then the people screamed to Moses for help. When Moses prayed to the Lord, God stopped. After that, the area was known as Taberah, which means the place of burning, because fire from the Lord had burned among them there. What's this? Then the foreign rabble who were traveling with the Israelites began to crave the good things of Egypt. Look at this. They craved the good things of Egypt. And the people of Israel also began to complain. Oh, for some meat, they exclaimed. We remember the fish we used to eat for free in Egypt. And we all had the cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlics, all we wanted. But now our appetites are gone. All we ever see is this crazy manna that comes from heaven every day that we don't even, and the word manna means what is it? We don't even know what it is. We can't even describe it. It just comes down every day. But we had fish, and it didn't cost us a dime over there. It didn't cost them a dime. It didn't. It was free. Man, Pharaoh took care of those people, right? But in exchange for what they thought was freedom, they had to exchange it for their entire life. See, that's the same thing if we're not careful that the government in the United States can set up. Amen. Is we can set up such an entitled people and give things to them so free that they will get it free and the government will still be in control. And you're appreciative of the free stuff. The problem with the free stuff is there's nothing is ever free. Amen. So you are basically owned by the people that give you free. The only one that's ever given anything free without any condition is Christ. Amen. Everything else has a condition to it. Yeah. It's either subtle or very open, but it's there. Okay? So they started complaining. Here they are complaining again. Wasn't bad enough to have that first fire. The manna looked like small coriander seeds, and it was pale yellow, like gum resin. The people would go out and gather it from the ground. They made flour by grinding with hand mills or pounding it into mortars. Then they boiled it into a pot and made it into flat cakes. They had tortillas, okay? These cakes tasted like pastries baked with olive oil. The manna came down on the camp with the dew during the night. So all night that thing would come down during the night in the dew or early morning. Moses heard all the family standing in the doorways of their tents whining. And the Lord became, here he is again, extremely angry. Now Moses is starting to get aggravated at the people. I mean, okay, look, the first time, I'll give you a little bit of the doubt. But now, you want to go back to Egypt? It's been over a year. All you can think about is how good it was back then, even though you were sold out to the system. You were sold out to the structure. You were sold out to the government. You sold your soul to them so you could get free fish. Yeah, people typically like to be under the control where they don't have to make decisions. The hardest time to live life is when you are totally free and you have to make responsibility or make decisions with responsibility. It's difficult. Someone said, man, sky's the limit. Well, I'd rather have somebody tell me what can I do. Most people are like that. Just tell me what I can do. Give me my options. You don't have any options because there's all these are out. All things are possible to them that believe. With man it's impossible, with God it's possible. So you have to look at life going, you mean to tell me I don't have to live here? You mean to tell me I don't have to be here? Yeah, you don't like the job, but you choose to work there. Well, but it provides for my family. I know, but you don't have to do it. You can go somewhere else. Well, I got relationships here. I know you do, but the choice is yours. What? Yeah, choice. Freedom with responsibility. That's the life that Christ has given us to choose. And Moses said to the people, why are you treating me, your servant, so harshly? See, he's taking it personal now. Have mercy on me. Now he's going to plead with them. Come on, guys. What did I do to deserve the burdens of all these people? Oh, he's going to the Lord. He went to the Lord and pleaded and said, okay, God, what did I do? I didn't deserve this. Now he's starting to feel sorry for himself. Did I give birth to them? Look at now he's going to really put it on God. Did I bring them into the world? No, these are your people. Why did you tell me to? See, God, you did this. You told me to carry them into my arms like a mother carries a nursing baby. How can I carry them to the land you swore to give to their ancestors? Where am I supposed to get meat for all these people? They keep whining this to me saying, give us meat to eat. I can't carry all these people myself. The load is far too heavy. If this is how you intend to treat me, just go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me the misery. This is Moses talking to God. Then the Lord says to Moses, here we go. Here comes the Father really giving the Son a real talk. Gather before me 70 men who are recognized as elders and leaders of Israel. Bring them to the 70. Now remember this. Do you remember when Jesus called his 12? Mm-hmm. And the 12 went out and healed people and were doing all kinds of crazy kingdom stuff? He brings them back in. They were going, man, this is amazing. He said, okay, now bring me 70. Why 70? Because 70 has to go. See, Moses put it all on him. Jesus delegated. Moses was putting the control back on himself. Jesus put the delegation on the people. Yep. See how the difference is? Gather me 70 men who are recognized as elders and leaders of Israel. Bring them to the tabernacle to stand there with you. I will come down and walk to you there. I will take some of the, look at this. I will take some of the spirit that is upon you, the favor that's on you, the calling that's on you, the grace that's on you, and I will put the same grace, spirit, life, favor, tendencies, I'll put them all on them that I put upon you. They will bear the burden of the people along with you, so you will not have to carry it alone. Now what he's saying is this, and you guys know what I'm talking about. You ever get a person or a family or somebody you just feel the burden for? And you're going, why do I even care? Why do I care more than they care? And you can't shake it. And you're going, God, every time I try to help them, they just spit in my face. I try to help them, they take 2 steps forward and they just run back. Why? Because, and you're not doing it out of obligation. It's because you have a burden for them. And that burden comes from the Lord. You can't shake it if you wanted to. I mean, I've got people in my life right now that, man, they'll cut you in the back and you wouldn't even know you're bleeding. Right? But I love them so much that I look at them and go, I know there's a chance. I know you're back there. But I even went to the Lord and said, God, why do you give me this burden for them? Because it's the Lord's burden for them that he placed upon me. Right? And I didn't shake it. I didn't ask for it, but I got it. Well, these guys didn't ask for it either. They just got summoned to come to the front of the tabernacle. And now God's going to put on those people the same heaviness, a burden on Moses that it was on Moses, he's going to put on them. So now they're going to start caring for the people and caring for the people like Moses did, and they're not even asking for it. It's a supernatural imprint of God on somebody's heart for somebody else. Yeah, that's it. You were whining and you heard the Lord's cry. So here's what it says, and say this to people, purify yourselves, for tomorrow you will have meat to eat. You're going to get meat, all right. You were whining and the Lord heard you when you cried. Oh, for some meat. Oh, we want some meat. Oh, we're better off back in Egypt. Man, I know. So, see, everybody's looking for security. The land of freedom and responsibility rocks and shakes your security. Okay? They wanted to go back there because it was secure. People will, okay, when you're out in the world and you're living in sin, it seems like it has a sense of security because you can fend for yourself. You don't have moral obligations to live by. You wouldn't have to if you're a sinner. You just do what sinners do. They sin. Here's the challenge. You get saved. You get in the church. Now you're in a structure. Now you know you can't sin, but you're not where you're going to be, but you're not where you were. So you can't go back to that, or you could. So here you are in the middle of this situation, living life going, I don't know, I don't like being in limbo and transition because my security is rocked. So I can go back, and I would rather for a denomination or someone tell me how to live my life. Do that, don't do this. Come to that, don't come to that. You better do this, but don't you dare do that. Okay, I can handle the rules. Rules are easy if you know what they are. But when God looks at you and says, you can do anything out there, but not everything's going to be good for you. Just choose life. And you're going, well, come on, drill down a little bit. I'd like to have a little bit deeper manual. I mean, that's just too ambiguous. I got to have a little bit more detail here. Well, that's not how it works. So he says, I'm going to give you for meat. We heard you better off. Now you're better off back in Egypt. Now the Lord will give you meat, and you will have it. You have to eat it. Watch this. And it won't be for just a day or two, or 5 or 10 or even 20 days. You will eat for the whole month until you gag and are sick of it. This is the Bible talking here now. This isn't commentary. This is the Bible. I'm going to force feed you, and you're going to be so sick of meat that you're going to wish you never even asked for it. Have you ever done it to your kids? Oh, yeah, you want that? Okay, you want that? I'm going to give it to you, and you're going to wish you never got that. Yeah. I know a guy that wanted a farm, and he prayed and asked God for a farm. And God gave him a farm. And he really worked hard to get this farm, him and God. I don't know how much God was in it, but he really put God on on the hook. And he got this big old farm. And he had, 45, 50 acres, several barns, it was just a lot. And he goes, man, I got my dream. I got it. About a year later, I went out and visited him, and I said, how's that farm coming along? I said, I noticed your grass is really high. Yeah, I got to cut that thing. I said, we'll buy you some goats. He said, no, you got to take care of the goats. I said, well, put some cattle or put it. I don't want a cattle. He said, you ever worked with cattle? No, I never worked with cattle. So everything I would suggest that a farm would do, he did. I said, well, then what are you going to do? I kind of joked with him a little bit. I said, why don't you just blacktop it? It's 45 acres. I don't know how much that's going to cost you, but you can just blacktop the whole thing, concrete it. But he got what he wanted. Oh, you want that farm? I'll give you that farm. You want that woman? I'll give it to you. Uh-oh, you want that woman? You got that guy? Okay. You want an extra kid to raise? He might be 32, but he's a kid. I'll give him to you. Anyway, that's not in here. That is commentary. For you have rejected the Lord who is here among you, and you have whined to him saying, why did we ever leave Egypt? You ever been there? I mean, come on, this is beyond. You ever been in a place and you're going, your heart's desire is to go there, and the Lord's leading you wherever that is, and you leave it, and you're not really fully settled there, but your heart's really not back there either, but you remember all the security that it brought. You had status there. That company was good. You liked it. It was, things were good there. You didn't have to go. Why did you even step when you could have just stayed? Well, you rocked your security, but you'll never get there. You'll never get to where you're going in life until you experience the time where you go, oh, it was better back there than the transition I'm in. Then you will finally get to that place and settle in over here where you're going, and you'll go, oh, God, I wouldn't trade this for anything back over there. Amen. But many people never get this place. They get here, get scared, get worried, see people around them they love that is getting worried and scared, and they go back. And they go back because it's a place where they can be controlled and a place they feel like they can control. That was good right there. But Moses responded to the Lord, there are 600,000 foot soldiers here with me, and yet you say I will give you meat for a whole month? Moses is trying to figure out how we don't have that many sacrifices. Even if we butchered all the flocks and herds, would that satisfy them? Even if we caught all the fish in the sea, would that be enough? Then the Lord said to Moses, has my arm lost its power? Now you will see whether or not the word comes true. So Moses went out and reported the Lord's words to the people. He gathered them, said 70 people, and he said, listen, guys, you guys, here's the deal. 25 says, come down. The Lord said, come down in the cloud, and spoke to Moses. The Lord came down, and then he gave them 70 elders, the same spirit that was on Moses. And when the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied. What's this? They prophesied. But this never happened again. Watch this. 2 men, Eldad and Medad, had stayed behind in the camp. They were listed amongst the elders, but they had not gone out to the tabernacle. Yet the Spirit rested upon them as well. So they prophesied. That tells me that that same Spirit that's on God, that he puts upon a place or puts on a people, they don't have to be close. They don't even have to ask for it. God can just put it up on them.
Amen. Amen.
And we have people going, you got to come to church and repent. You got to come and you got to get saved. And those guys stayed outside the camp. They stayed away. And the same Spirit that was on those guys, when God marks a person, you can't get away from it.
Amen.
It's just not possible. You can try, you can hide, you can run, you can cry, you can spit, you can scream. But when there's a call of God on your life, you can't shake it. It's irrevocable, and he doesn't change his mind. Yet the Spirit rested upon them as well, so they prophesied in the camp. A young man ran and reported to Moses, Eldad and Medad are prophesying. Oh, they're not Baptist, and they're prophesying in the Baptist church. They're not Pentecostal, and they're prophesying in the Pentecostal church. They're not even saved, and they're prophesying what you're saying, what God is saying. What's this? Joshua the son of Nun, who had a different spirit. Joshua is the Hebrew word for Jesus, Yeshua. Jesus, Joshua, son of Nun, who had been Moses' assistant since youth, protested, Moses, my master, make him stop. Watch this. But Moses replied, are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put this Spirit upon them. Now watch this. Isn't that what Paul said in the Corinthians? I pray you all prophesy.
Amen. Yes.
You might speak in tongues with men and angels, but that's a wonderful thing. However, I wish you prophesy. I wish somebody would get the spirit of prophecy upon them. Everybody would get the spirit of prophecy upon them and hear what God is saying, carry the burden of the Lord, and begin to speak what the Lord is saying. And Moses says, Joshua, I know it doesn't make sense. I know you've been with me since youth. I know. Make them stop. No, I can't make them stop. Who am I to withstand what the Lord is doing? Then Moses returned to the camp, and you notice Joshua didn't fight him. He just listened to him. Then Moses returned to the camp. Now the Lord sent a wind that brought quail from the sea and let them fall all around the camp. For miles in every direction, there were quail flying about 3 feet above the ground. So the people went out and caught quail all that day. Now think about this. This is the first day. They were excited. Here come quail. So the people went out and caught quail all that day and throughout the night and all the next day too. No one gathered less than 50 bushels. They spread that quail around the camp to dry. Watch this. But while they were gorging themselves over the meat, while it was still in their mouths, the anger of the Lord blazed against the people, and he struck them with severe plague, so that the place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, which means graves of gluttony, because there they buried the people who had craved meat, craved the world's system,
Yes.
and the satisfaction that came from the world system. Right?
Amen.
Everybody see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It was a place where, oh, you want it? I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. But it's going to cost you. He's just looking for someone to trust him. People who crave the meat from the world system. And the meat is doctrine. Meat is meat to eat, right? Meat is not just quail. The spiritual component of that is its doctrine and teachings and the way of thinking. Okay? From Kibroth Hattaavah, the Israelites traveled to Hazareth, where they stayed for some time. While they were there, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because he married a Cushite woman. They said, has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Here we go. Hasn't he spoken through us too? But the Lord heard, they didn't like Moses' wife, okay? And this is his family. This is his brother and his sister. They didn't like his family. They didn't like their sister-in-law. She wasn't from the right camp. Wasn't right from the right people. So what'd she do? they begin to say, you know what, Moses really made a bad decision here, because here's how it works. We really believe she's probably influencing him, and she didn't really come from where we come from. So she's really the voice and the mouthpiece. And surely God didn't just speak to Moses too, so he's got to be speaking to us as well. But the Lord heard them. Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on the earth. Now here's the strangest part about that. Can you go back there for just a second? Now Moses was very humble, more humble than any other person on the earth. Moses wrote this book. Moses authored Numbers. And he wrote, Moses is a pretty humble guy. By himself. I'm a humble. In other words, he spoke in a third person because it was easier to. But if he had wrote that to us, he'd have said, hey, I'm a humble guy. I'm really the most humble person in the earth. Do you think anybody's going to receive that one? But we forget that Moses wrote the book, right? Moses was humble. Let me tell you what Moses was humble. Humility is having a proper assessment of the situation. A proper assessment of you and assessment of the situation. So now Moses was very humble. He had an honest assessment. He had a more honest assessment than any other person on the earth. So immediately the Lord called to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam and said, go out to the tabernacle, all three of you. It's about to go down. So the three of them went to the tabernacle. Then the Lord descended in the pillar of a cloud and stood at the entrance of the tabernacle. Aaron and Miriam he called. They stepped forward. Can you imagine God calling them out? I mean, dear God. And the Lord said to them, now listen to what I say. If there were prophets among you, I, the Lord, would reveal myself to them in visions. I would speak to them in dreams, but not with my servant Moses. Moses is different. Of all my house, he's the one I trust. Now here's Moses going to God. This is the same guy that about 3 or 4 verses earlier, a couple chapters earlier, went to God and said, look, I didn't ask for these people. Yes. These are your people. I didn't give birth to them. I didn't ask for this. God, you're going to have to do something or just kill me. And he said, and even earlier than that, Moses didn't want to go. And God was mad, remember? He didn't even want to get circumcised. You remember all that story? He went to go, this is a big deal. And God comes and validates him, says, I speak to Moses, I give prophets dreams and visions. But Moses, I speak face to face. I speak clearly to him, and I don't speak in riddles. He sees the Lord as he is. So why are you not afraid to criticize my servant Moses? Isn't it a good thing when you got your people kind of talking about you behind your back, thinking you're all not that? God calls them out and says, can I tell you really how I think about him? You know that scripture that says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm? Mm-hmm. Well, we use that to tell people so they quit talking about you. Don't use that. Do my prophets no harm. What he's really saying is this. Everybody that's anointed, you don't do your prophets no harm, you don't talk about the anointed, because the anointed one is Christ in you. So you don't talk about anybody. Why? Because that's his anointed. The Lord was angry with them, and he departed. And the cloud moved from above the tabernacle. There stood Miriam. Here's the problem. Her skin was as white as snow with leprosy. She had a flesh disease because she got in the flesh. When Aaron saw what had happened to her, he cried out to Moses, oh, my master, please don't punish us for this sin we have so foolishly committed. Watch it. There he repented. Don't let her be like a stillborn baby already decayed at birth. So Moses, look at what Moses did. Just found out they were talking about him. Moses cried out to the Lord, oh God, I beg you, please heal her. How many people would do that? God, kill her, take her out. She shouldn't have said that. You know what I mean? Most people would have been, let her suffer for at least 3 or 4 days. But the Lord said to Moses, if her father had done nothing more than spit in her face, wouldn't she be defiled for 7 days? So keep her outside the camp for 7 days, and after that she may be accepted back. So Miriam was kept outside the camp for 7 days, and the people waited until she was brought back before they traveled again. So then they left Hazeroth and camped into the wilderness of Paran. Here's where we'll stop. Let's go to the next. We'll start here. The Lord said to Moses, send out men to explore the land of Canaan, the land I am giving to the Israelites. Send the one leader from each of the 12 ancestral tribes. 12 spies are getting ready to go out. So Moses did as the Lord commanded. He sent out 12 men, all tribal leaders of Israel, from the camp of the wilderness of Paran. These are the tribes, the names of the leaders. Tribe leader Reuben, Simeon, Judah, Issachar, Ephraim, Benjamin, all these people. Zebulun, Dan, Asher, Gad. These are the names of the men Moses sent out to explore the land. Moses called Hoshea, son of Nun, Joshua, by the name Joshua. Moses gave these men these instructions as he sent them out to explore the land. Go north through the Negev into the hill country. Watch this. See what the land is like and find out whether the people living there are strong or weak, few or many. See what kind of land they live in. Is it good or bad? Do their towns have walls, or are they unprotected like open camps? If the soil is fertile or poor, are there many trees? Do your best to bring back samples of the crops you see. It happened to be the season of harvesting for the first ripe grapes. So they went out and explored the land from the wilderness of Zin as far as Rehob, near Lebohamath. Going north, they passed through the Negev and arrived at Hebron, where Hyman, Sheshai, and Talmai, all descendants of Anak, which is the giants, lived. The ancient town of Hebron was founded 7 years before the Egyptian city of Zon. Watch this. When they came to the valley of Eshcol, they cut down a branch with a single cluster of grapes, so large that it took two men to carry them into a pole between them, with a pole between them. They also brought back samples of pomegranates and figs. The place was called the Valley of Eshcol, which means cluster, because the cluster of grapes the Israelite men cut there. After exploring the land for 40 days, the men returned to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel in Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran. They reported to the whole community what they had seen and showed them the fruit they had taken from the land. This was their report to Moses. We entered the land you sent us to explore. Now, he didn't tell them to see if they were going to go. They were going to explore to just bring back the report of the land. It wasn't a question of do we go or not go. It's a question of give us a taste of what's over there and give us a scouting report, because we're going. This was the report. We entered the land you told us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land that flows with milk and honey. Here is the kind of fruit it produces. Here's the fruit. Here is the evidence of what's in that land. But the people living there, they're powerful. Their towns are large, fortified. We even saw giants, the descendants of Anak. They're huge. The Amalekites live in the Negev, and the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites live in the hill country. The Canaanites live along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan Valley. But Caleb tried to shut up. He tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. They're giving him all that negativity, all that fear, all that doubt, here's all the obstacles, here's all the obstacles, here's what we saw, here's what we have, but here's what we saw. And Caleb said, let's go at once, take the land. He said, we can certainly conquer it. But the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. We can't go up there against them. They're stronger than we are. So they spread their bad report about the land among the Israelites. The land we traveled through and explored will devour anyone who goes to live there. And these people we saw were huge. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers, and that's what they thought too. Then the whole community began to weeping out loud, and they cried all night, and we'll start there next week in the new location. I'm just telling you, wherever God's taken you, you'll have evidences of everything that's fearful to stop you from going. But it can't be the voice that you hear the loudest to keep you from going. See you in a few moments.